I just didn't want to get on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
How's your mom, honey?
How's my mom?
You.
We can talk later.
I saw her. I don't know if it was your sister, somebody dropped her off at Drug Mart.
Yes.
And I just saw her passing. And honestly, I'm not sure, as quick as it was, she realized who I was.
Yeah. I mean, she's doing all right. There's just been some issues. She's not able to drive right now. Like for the past 6 months, she's not been able to drive. So
I do too. I have a
there's
GPA.
something going on.
But when I hear that, I was like, really? Somebody else is like me.
All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, today's her birthday. She's 81 today.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're having different places. I've asked before. Good morning. Good. How are you?
Good morning.
Hi,
Just wanted to
hi,
thank
Steve.
you for joining us.
Are unmuted, you are recording, and the video is live.
Call to order this August regular meeting of the Huron City Schools Board of Education. Mr. Treasurer.
Mr. Jones, here. Mrs. Green,
Here.
Mrs. Mask,
Here.
Mr. Slocum, here. Mr. Ward.
Here. Please join me saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I know, if I had the.
Motion to approve the agenda,
So moved?
Second.
treasurer.
Mrs. Mass.
Yes.
Mr. Jones. Yes. Mrs. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Slocum. Yes. Mr. Ward.
Yes. Item 4 on the agenda is for us to go into executive session. How shall we execute that?
Your motion. Be specific to go into consider the appointment, employment, and compensation of public employees.
Thank you.
So moved.
Motion, yeah, thank you,
Second?
Mr. Treasurer.
Mrs. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Jones. Yes. Mrs. Mass.
Yes.
Mr. Slocum. Yes. Mr. Ward.
Yes. So, do we have a place?
Yeah. Go in the break here.
Okay, outstanding, thanks.
Get our video. You guys can go. Stop. Dr. Lori.
For the time, Mr. Treasurer.
I have the time. We are, the mic is back on. We are back live streaming.
Item 5 on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Motion,
So moved.
Mr. Treasurer.
Mr. Jones. Yes. Mr. Slocum.
Yes.
Mrs. Mass.
Yes.
Mrs. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes. Item 6, audience and community participation. We don't have yes, we do have a podium. Thank you to whomever was mindful of that. We ask that you approach the podium, keep your comments to a 5-minute maximum. We will allocate a maximum of 30 minutes for this portion of the agenda. So staying less than 5 minutes is considerate of your neighbors. Would anyone like to address the Board of Education at this time?
Hello, my name is Amy Springer and I'm at 434 Seneca in Huron. And I'm the president of the Huron Athletic Booster Club. I'm here just to kind of inform the board and community where we're at as far as getting ready for fall sports. Just a few things, some things we've purchased this summer for our sports teams. We did the huddle video program for the volleyball varsity team. We are on back order, but we're buying all weather coats for the cheer squad. Girls soccer, we've purchased game and practice balls. Boys and girls golf team, we purchased polo shirts. Boys soccer, home and away, New Jerseys. And in this past spring, we did about 60 plus boys track coats. And currently we're looking into purchasing girls tennis long sleeve shirts. As far as our stadium maintenance, session stand is stocked, ready to go. Products are a little iffy trying to get those in the local stores, but we're ready to go. We put 330 bags of mulch down the stadium. The press box renovation is fully completed. We did interior and exterior paint. We trim, carpet, door, countertops. That project was around $10,000. We are in the works. Pretty sure we have a local sponsor for the new signage that will be on the back of the press box. That signage will be about $7,000 and that will be fully donated. I'm still working out the details with that. Sports passes are all out in the mail. What's exciting, this came to us, which we are really excited about. Next week is the Bash on the Bay. And our booster club will be taking over 22 volunteers to work the beer tent, and we get the funds for all the tips for that event. I'm going to a meeting with other booster clubs next week, finalize all of that. So that was something that usually the Snuskey schools areas get, and they were down a team. So we were really excited to get to get that. Last thing I wanted to say off sports is to our whole school board, to Donna, Scott, and Paul as well, who are not filling their chairs. Your job here is a huge responsibility. You are all sitting in those chairs for the benefit of our students, and you've all done a great job. People are always quick to point out mistakes and faults, but I'm here to point out that you've done a lot of good things for Huron City Schools. Speaking from someone that has volunteered for a long time with student athletes in Huron, you come across making really tough decisions, and no matter sometimes what choices you make, can't always make everyone happy. And I have a ton of respect for how hard you guys have worked on this board. I believe in experience. Experience does matter. And my advice to the new people here today, that are want to take this role. Reach out to these people too. You know, I still reach out to my past presidents of the boosters, because there's sometimes things come up that are a little tricky, and to get in the experience matters. So I just want to say thank you so much for all your hard work. Last thing is our home opener at our stadium is September 3rd against Genoa. And that's it. So go Tigers. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. And I think I can speak on behalf of the board, which I normally would not take that liberty. But this district is not what it is without the hard work of the Huron Booster Club. We appreciate your leadership, Amy.
Got one more thing.
You've got
Sorry.
87 seconds.
Our membership drive, our membership drive is at right now, it's at 31,900, which is the most it's been since about 2004. So I'm really happy.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the Board of Education at this time? Please state your name and address, please.
Sherry Patry, 902 Superior Drive.
Thank you.
I do want to acknowledge that I understand as a former board member that you do have a lot of tough decisions. And some of those decisions are not easy to make because we are such a small community. And in this community, you know, there's just a lot of people that we like. There's a lot of people we respect. But not everybody is 100% good and not everybody is 100% bad. I sat with you in 2019. I remember that it was 2 months before we were told about a specific situation. It was 2 more months before we were even given any details. So I can honestly say, I don't know what happened during the March of 2019 because I wasn't aware. I wasn't aware during April of 19. It was May 24th of 19 that I was told anything for the first time. And it was the second week of July before I was given any details. I do remember some of those details. And I'm not going to air dirty laundry, but I'm going to remind you that I sent that to you and reminded you in an email what those details were. I'm asking that you not ignore that. I'm not here to disparage anybody in the community. I'm not here to ruin somebody's reputation. But sometimes we make judgment calls that cannot be ignored. You know, I've often heard people say, but we don't want to destroy a career of somebody. I'd never hear anybody saying, but we don't want to destroy the life of a child. These are children. And this just really got out of control. And I'm just saying, you need to do what's right. I sat on that board to do right by my community. I sat on that board to do right by children. And I know deep down, at some point, that's where your focus was. And I asked this board to make a decision that errs on the side of children.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the Board of Education? Thank you very much. Oh, yes, please. Just please state your name and address for us.
Hi, my name is Shannon Thomas. My address is 355 Berlin Road. And thank you for giving us the chance to speak. The first thing I want to say is I wrote a letter to you all. My name is Shannon, so you guys all received a letter from me after the last school board meeting. And I want to say publicly some of the things that I said in that letter. The community is begging you for transparency. At that school board meeting, I was horrified that the words harassment and sexual harassment were never spoken out loud. All we heard about was the lawsuit is the reason why you couldn't recruit people to be on the levy committee. And that because of that it was related to the lawsuit, it couldn't be spoken about in the meeting. So you talked about pay to play sports and the busing issue, which are small issues that people are upset about. I shouldn't say that. They're not small issues. They're issues that people are upset about. They are not the explosive issue that is really destroying public perception of this community's schools. The thing that's destroying public perception of the community school is the harassment issue. And we need to be hearing about it. We need to hear from you what's going on. We know you can't talk about the lawsuit, but you can talk to us about how you're dealing with harassment proactively now forward. I had a meeting with Mr. Ruff yesterday where we talked about ideas that he has that I think are very good. I shared more ideas, things that I've seen other schools do. Rocky River had an incident and they immediately notified the community so that parents could come forward and if issues happen with their children, they could get in touch with the school. We know about this. We heard about this. We want you to know about it too. So the issue could be broadly and widely addressed by the community, not behind closed doors. We need to know what's going on. And so today you're voting on Coach Jacobs. We don't know whether that's a good thing or not because we don't know anything about the situation. You haven't communicated with us. So there's a lot of mistrust about the decision and there's a lot of support for the decision, but nobody actually knows the truth from you guys about why you're making the decisions you're making. It's radio silence. We need to hear from you. Please, please reconsider the way you communicate with the community. And I did share some examples with Mr. Ruff. I hope he shares with you ways that other schools have proactively communicated. It's not unprecedented. It's possible. It can be done. And it will raise the morale of this community almost immediately. I promise you, if you start talking to us, attitudes will change. The second thing I'd like to say is that I want to thank you for the Safe Zone training, the Safe Zone project training. I looked into this training in the company after I heard this happened, and I know you faced pushback. And I just want you to know, I know Huron families with LGBTQ children, the families and children who suffered terribly in our district. That's not unique. That's not a Huron problem. That's an overall problem that some schools are addressing. And I appreciate that Huron is, regardless of whether the family supports the child or not, it's important that the teachers in school know how to interact with all different kinds of students. Any kind of student that's coming into the classroom, teachers need to be trained to deal with. So I appreciate that you brought that training to the teachers, and I really think it will hopefully benefit different populations of students. Thank you very much for hearing me today.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the board at this time? Thank you.
The issue, board member got a letter from a parent one who read the board meeting, asked Dr. McDonald to read it. The letter identifies a student, and having Dr. McDonald read that publicly, potentially the FERPA violation. If a parent read that, it would not be an issue, but can't have a school official reading that name in public. Does that make sense? Hopefully.
FERPA is the education equivalent of HIPAA. For those of you who've not heard of that.
But the letter certainly can be circulated to the board. I would enter as if we were in a race of the public record, I'd want it redacted.
I understand. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Thank you. Anyone else like to address the board at this time? Thank you all for your contributions. Item 7 on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Thank you. A couple things as we get ready to welcome students next week on the 25th. We talked with the building, the administrators. All school buildings by law in the state of Ohio are required to have emergency operating plans that are approved by the Department of Homeland Security, and they're comprehensive documents that cover every aspect of the school operation, from a power outage to a live shooting incident, to fire drills, to who picks up your garbage. what we're going to concentrate on this year is drilling, which is also required by law in the family reunification portion of the operating plan. Because the reality is that if we do have a event where a school has to be evacuated, what happens will be in the hands of first responders, but we're school officials. The most key element is reuniting our students properly and in a very orderly manner with their parents. That's the challenge of any district should this happen. And it's spelled out in the plan, but obviously practicing it in a drill is key. If you recall, about 4 years ago, Perkins, I believe it was Furry Elementary, had a bomb threat when there was a series of those going on throughout the country. Their family reunification occurred at the VFW hall on Route 4 and went flawlessly. And that, as it should. So that is something that, because that's really the thing that should an evacuation occur, that we will be tasked with as school officials. So we will drill that in our buildings. That's our focus this year for that. I want to commend the summer custodial and maintenance staff, outstanding work throughout the summer for our buildings, our grounds, the cleaning. That was celebrated. Mrs. Zilski put on a huge lunch, very much appreciated the state of cleanliness that our buildings are in as we get ready for students next week. And finally, the cross-country all-night run occurred 6th and the 7th. That's a traditional thing. I think it's been on for 20 years. To a certain degree, you could say that it's a rather uneventful thing. Our kids come up with teachers and parents and coaches, and they run all night long and light candles. However, when I stopped in, in this, what I hope to be our post-COVID era, I was struck at just how ordinary everything was. And it was kind of reassuring to see when I was up there, the middle school kids, some were running, some were interacting with peers and friends, some were playing Jenga, some were putting stuff on the board, some were getting coached up. But the bottom line is they were all having that normal experience that you look at your students and you want them to have when they do extracurriculars or co-curriculars or academics. So again, probably something that in pre-COVID I wouldn't have given much thought to, but I was very happy to see. That's all I have in my report, and I'll hand it over to Mrs. Zilski for the transportation.
Please do.
Take a look. And then I'll have it available for anybody else that would like to see it. This is, first I want to welcome everyone to the bus garage. When Mr. Ruff said that he would like to have a meeting out here and showcase the bus garage, because no one ever gets to come out to this special little nugget that we have out here. I just wanted to say it's nice to have everyone come out here. This building was actually built in 1999. It's a little over 11,000 square foot. And what you see is maintained by our two maintenance gentlemen and Steve Zek. So Al Millis and Rick Gadd and Steve do a tremendous job with the property, with the buses. The bus that you see here, this is a 2016 bus. This bus has a little over 73,000 miles on it. And it looks like it just rolled off the showroom floor. I can't begin to say how much time and effort that these guys put into the buses. We have the best mechanic, hands down, which I am very sad to say that he's retiring on me in the end of January. And I did have real tears that rolled down my face when I got the letter that he was leaving me. So he does a tremendous job.
I add too that this thing isn't polished up for the meeting. This is how they look all the time.
This is how they look all the
time.
All the time. And I have to say, like, I have been doing operations for over 10 years. And my first year here, when I came in, it was winter time. These guys had been, plowing since 4:30 in the morning. And I came in to see what, I needed to tell them something. I'm like, where are they? And I'm looking around, and they were in the bay, and they had a lift, and they were actually sweeping the ceiling because they didn't want the debris to fall on the buses. So, I'll always remember that. I went home and I told my husband, I said, I won't believe what my guys were doing today. That's the level of detail and attention that these gentlemen put in every single day.
And I feel that not with just this department, but with all the other classified staff that I work with, the amount of detail, heart, caring, compassion, not only for the school district as a whole, but for the students it's just, I can't put into words how proud I am to work with these people on a daily basis. I just can't. Our buses on average are 13 years old, but you would never know, like Mr. Rupp said, by looking at them. We have over 188,000 miles on average for each bus. We do have a new bus that is purchased, but it won't be here until the end of September because of COVID. Our average bus age is 2008, so roughly 13. We have one van, which is a 2013 and has over 100,000 miles on it. And all our maintenance trucks, if you ever get the opportunity, they're out here. Those are all 2006s, but you could get off of the floors. These guys do a tremendous amount of work to keep this all taken care of. What I was going to say too is what we have here with our mechanic and our maintenance guys, they're so talented in so many different ways. If you had the opportunity to go up and look in the boardroom, if you've been at a board meeting, our maintenance gentleman, Rick Gadd, built that board office furniture that's up there right now. So other districts have bought furniture like that, and it's well over $5,000 just for the meeting room table, and he built it for a little over 500. So the guys put it together, you know, everything from sanding, you know, cutting everything and installing it. So I call them, and I don't mean to be blasphemous, but my little holy trinity. Those three guys, it's a huge blessing to me. I can't even begin to say, you know, how wonderful they are. One thing that I wanted to showcase, and I put on each of the board members' seats, our route finder routes for this year. We are using a program called TransFinder, and the program itself helps with routing. I still rely on the drivers to go over the routes with me to make sure that we have the students, you know, that should be on the buses. No computer program is perfect. So with eliminating high school busing this year, we had to totally redo all of the routes. So please have patience if, you know, your student isn't on the list. I'm working every single day to make sure that the lists are correct. This route, you'll see the top is an old route sheet, and that's the way that they were done. They were all done by hand, and it would take hours. When we did pre-COVID, when we were working, each route driver would spend probably 3 to 4 hours on their routes. When we started with COVID, we sat in the boardroom and for 5 straight days working for 8 hours to do the routes by hand. So this online program helps tremendously. The route sheets are much easier to read. It gives directions. I don't know if anybody's ever been a sub bus driver, but that is probably one job I would not want to have. So you're driving in the morning with a piece of paper in your hand, trying to stop at people's houses, trying to read the directions, a lot of times in the dark, in the weather. So these new routes make it so much better for a sub driver to actually come in and do the routes. This program gives us the ability that I can send emails out to parents so that they can get updates on routes. It also has in the program, the secretaries and the building principals have the ability that they can go on and look and see what time a student gets picked up and dropped off and what bus they're on. I also work very closely with Holly Sharble for the special needs route. She has been a huge help. Right now, we have 6 regular routes and 1 handicap route that we're running. This route finder program has helped me eliminate last year a route and a half, and this year an additional route. So you're talking roughly 2 hours a day, you know, every day. So it helped with times. It's made the routes a lot more efficient as well. So we were able to go more to, instead of door to door, more stops. So that helps the average student time tremendously as well. We've had routes where students were on a bus over an hour to an hour and a half. So none of the routes that we have right now are any longer than an hour. I also have new trip sheets, and you'll see when the bus drivers take field trips, we used to have a spreadsheet and people did, they filled out a written 3-page sheet that the driver would get a copy and it takes time. So the athletic director would have to collect the sheets and then bring the sheets to me and then I would divvy them out to the drivers. I have it in an electronic program that I created with the help of Mrs. Mashari. And now the coaches or teachers can go right online, fill it out on the school website. It goes into a Google Docs for me, and then I print it out. So we're saving the cost of that triplicate form as well. Those are expensive to have to keep, buying those. So this is just something that's the cost of printing it out off of the copier. I just want to say thank you to my drivers. We have Susan Millhouse, who is here. She's retiring this year after 30 years. So she retires in April. Lisa Olemacher, Tracy Yost, Becky Schoolcraft, Ken Walters, who also is going to retire on me in June. So I'm sad about that as well. Kim Wire, Tammy Steenbaker, Chris Miles. We have a bus aide, Monica Denslow. All these people have worked tremendously to help the kids get to school safe and efficiently every single day. And the staff that we have for our bus drivers is phenomenal. Also for subs, we have Pete Zimmerman, Nick Wells, Aggie Schaefer, Steve Conkey, Steve Zach also drives, and so does Rick Gadd. So we're very fortunate. We have staff members that are willing to always help out so we can, get kids where they need to go. I know that things happen. Like one day Kamala called me and said, hey, Denise, I gotta have a bus. Like they're not here yet. And it was just something that had slipped through the cracks. So I called Ken Walters and he said, Denise, I'm shoving some food in my face right now. And he goes, but you know what? Give me 5 minutes, I'll be there. So that's the type of dedication that we have here with our drivers as well. So I wish we could do meetings like this all over the district all the time. I would love for everyone to come into the cafeterias so I could showcase my wonderful food service staff, come in and see the custodial staff. I mean, the heart and like I said, the attention to detail that we have here is phenomenal. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Zilski.
If you get the opportunity, so in this route finder program, you can see it shows each route, and then that's the different stops in the route, so you can see at any given point in time. So
If anybody'd like to stick around after the meeting and look around the facility, please feel free to do that.
Thank you, Ms. Zilski, very much. Certainly hard work and attention to detail are you and your team's hallmarks. Item 8, treasury report.
Now, what you've all been waiting for, that's why everyone's here. Normally it's a laugh, but my comedy skills are left behind. So I'm sorry we can't put it projected up on anything, but hopefully you can follow along. You have the attachments on board docs. I want to hit a couple of things. 5 points, start with our July financial review. 1 month in, it's always hard, the 1/12 of the year. But our cash position is, right where we expect. We did get a tax advance in July, or our total cash position is about a little under 4.7 million. That's for all fun. That's all funds. The majority, of course, being general fund. General fund balance being about 3.6, which at the end of last month is our second lowest point of the year. When we're low, our lowest point is in January and February, and our second lowest is in June before we get our July tax advance, and then we get our August, we get our payment in August, which we have received. You have a disbursement report. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. Going down, our investments are making nothing. If you have CDs or anything out there, you're realizing if you're getting 0.25%, you're doing pretty well. When I came on board 2 years ago, we made about $95,000 in interest. We may be lucky to get $5,000 this year. That's the nature of the game. If you're a borrower, it's a great time to borrow, but if you're an investor, it's not. And just like I report every month, is we are pulling our investments in. So as investments mature, I'm pulling them back in cash, putting them back in our money market so that they're liquid, because like 2 years from now, we'll need every bit of cash that we have. just a couple high points. I'm in the final point of financial report for the month. We are right now, it's hard. We're a little bit unfavorable to forecast by $11,000, but that's, again, it's timing more than anything else because of delays in getting things for, because of the COVID supply side. We've pre-ordered things, if you will. We ordered a lot of stuff in June, try to get it here sooner. And in fact, we got stuff that's technology back ordered till October, November. So we spent some money earlier than we normally would have trying to get it here sooner. So July we spent a lot more on supplies than we normally would, but that's just a front load. It'll even out next month. And plus July was a prepay month, which always skews things a little bit. But our expenditures were down year over year a little bit, and again, it goes back to control. In salaries and benefits, you really don't see the impact of changes until September, because most of our contracts are stretched from September 1st to August 31st, so they overlap fiscal years. So when you say, well, we eliminated 2 positions, how come we're not seeing the savings? You're not going to see those savings until fall, just because of timing of and how that stretch pay works out. But we're tracking, 1/12 a year way in the year. We're tracking as expected. Wish I could put this up there. Just want to talk a couple things on our this month's Finance 101 lesson. In the packet, I put a bar chart showing our expenses since 2006. And again, it's one of those things we just need to keep putting out there that we are spending today less than we did, 10 years ago. So, I mean, expenses have gone up. If you look at it, you can see very obviously where the district made reductions, and you're starting to see some inflationary increases. And one area that's probably is purchase services, and that's because of special education. The second bar chart in that is revenue, and I just put in local revenue. If you got my fiscal tiger yesterday, I put in our state revenues. Essentially, it's not changed much over the last 15 years. And our local revenue, local taxes, we are actually today slightly less than what we received in 2007. And you can see those numbers. So it's, I consider fairly flat over the last 15 years. So revenue and expenses are relatively flat. So it's just not, to go 15 years without new money is not, I sound like a broken record. I think I say this every month, is not unusual. The third slide in that is just people talk about property values, and it's an important topic. You can see what property values have done in the district. We are a residential district, 380 million in full valuation, 300 million of it is residents, right? That's where it is, and that is what's risen over the years. I think the last time it dipped was in 2011, 2012. It's been consistently on the rise since. In the last slide, as you know, as property values go up, our effective millage goes down. And that chart shows that. The interesting thing on this one, you can barely see it on the graph, but our permanent improvement levy, which is, without it, we would really be hurting, but was passed in 1986. It was at 3 mils in 1986. It's down to about 1 mil. All right. So long term, as we've talked about, we've got to deal with the operating levy, but we got to start thinking about long-term facilities, and that includes money for permanent improvement. We are keeping things patched together, but it's not like we can, if we need new windows, for example, at Woodlands, that would wipe out our money for the year, or half our money for the year to do that. So it's just kind of it's a tale of just to watch out. I'll be asking you to approve the amended appropriations. They're just updated. We've got our grant allocations, and we've got some better ideas. So that's an amendment to the temporary appropriation approved in June. I will have a permanent appropriation in September. And permanent is kind of a misnomer. You can still amend as the year goes on. You've got a couple budget purpose statements to approve. And the last thing, I just want to give you an update. on the superintendent search. You tasked me with reaching out to firms to assist the board in our superintendent search. I reached out to North Point, the ESC, which has helped us in the past, Finding Leaders, which is a pretty active school group here in Northern Ohio, K-12, which is the biggest of such sort in the state, and OSBA. And they all concur that actually starting the search in January makes sense. There's obviously some work to do before then, but for next month, I will have for each of you a packet from each of them outlining their proposals, how to get community involvement, et cetera, as well as their cost. And you can decide to do it from there. I've heard from 3 of the 4. Like I said, but I'll have all of it for you in September. And you can have that information and act on it. I think in talking with them, it really makes sense, at least get the ball rolling on the community input stuff before January. The new board comes in, they can take that screening material and then work with the search and their process to hire after. Any questions on that? And I hope that's meeting what the board asked of me to do. So
I think it is.
Okay.
Anyone?
So, that's all on my report, unless you have any questions. Like I said, all the documents are on board docs. And I apologize not being able to put them up. Oh, I will do one update on technology, the boardroom. Because of backorder equipment, only by September, well, it won't be September, the October meeting, we'll have the setup for remote learning in there, so we can have microphones at each of the positions and do a better job of being able to record and broadcast meetings for the public. So it'll be, but not just a boardroom, but it'll be a good remote learning facility also. So
Excellent.
We're actually waiting for a couple of mounts. So which back order is really kind of crazy.
Any questions for the treasurer on his report? Item 9.
All right, so item A is our monthly financial statements as presented. Got nothing surprising there. Item B, donations for the month of July. We had one donation of $250 for scholarship. Item C is the amended temporary appropriations and certificate of estimated resources. Again, appropriations allow us to appropriate the money so we can spend it. And item D are student activity and budget purpose statements for varsity softball and the Woodlands principal account in the educational garden at Woodlands. Again, just a reminder, those statements allow those activities to do the activities they have listed on the statement, like fundraise or whatever on that. Item E is for your information only. We've attached 3 contracts. District 1, it's a contract for athletic sponsorships or for some signage and stuff we put out the events. The athletic department gets some money. So that's money coming in rather than going out. And then the other 2 are contract-based for counseling for mental health, drug and alcohol prevention services, and our social work. Very important part of our social emotional learning environment. That is it for my recommendation. So A through D, item E is an information item.
Motion?
So moved.
Second. Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Treasurer?
Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Mass,
Yes.
Mr. Slocum,
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes. Item 10, superintendent recommendations.
Thank you. Item A is extended days for Aaron Smith, who is our school counselor at Woodlands for the 21-22 school year. 6 extended days, to be specific. Item B is extended days for Mary James, who is the high school counselor. This is a correction from the 10 days that were originally approved by contract. The high school counselor is 15 extended days. Item C, extended hours for Shawnee PE teacher. Again, extended hours for Dana Skabnick at her rate, or at the rate listed, I'm sorry, for the upcoming school year. Item D, Shawnee Elementary academic supplementals. You can see a list of 5 individuals there that are IST coaches, and also splitting the yearbook for down at Shawnee. Item E, approval of volunteers. There are just two. I might note all BCI approved. Item F, Tigers Kids Club aide. That would be Mary Petronella as the Kids Club aide for school year 22. Certified assignments for item G, Ashley Tapp, non-public funds, Woodland, 60 hours a week. Trish Rose Kelly, HVA program mentor at halftime through ESSER funds. Item H, educational aid assignments, and you can see listed here are our aides and who they're assigned to, hours per week. Mrs. Sharva worked very hard to make this as economical and streamlined as possible while still obviously meeting the needs. Item I, change in placement. Change in placement in the certified schedule for Jesse Gimperling from MA plus 20 to MA plus 30. Item J, additional time. This is recommended for additional time for Sarah Reedy, 270 minutes per day for school year 22, funded by ESSER. Item K is athletic supplementals and equal activities. You can see we have a boys golf assistant because the numbers are such that it demands that. Janet Joffrey for high school cheerleading, Mike Lampinen, volleyball, 7th grade, Roger Blevins, high school cross country, David Solomon, 25% of a football supplemental, John Zidell, 80% of a football assistant supplemental, Matt Jacobs, high school wrestling coach, and Tabitha Ramey drill team. Item L, pupil activity volunteer. It's recommended that Sean Patton, who has been around longer than I can remember, helping us out, be approved. And I believe that is all.
1977, Mr. Ruff, I believe was Sean Patton's
1977.
first years. I believe.
All.
So moved.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Mr. Treasurer?
Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones, Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Mass, Mr. Slocum,
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes. Item 11, memorandum of understanding.
And if you remember, I sent an email out. We had a meeting, Denise and I did with a couple bus drivers over some things. And during the course of the meeting, it came up that there was clearly a clerical error in the contract that had just been negotiated. Basically, what it was is the word "and" was left out. And so if without "and" in there, bidding for routes would only occur in August. But also in the contract, if routes change by more than 15 minutes, it's a reopener, if you will, in bidding. So it should have said in August, and if there are route changes that constitute 15 minutes. So a simple addition. We easily came to the conclusion that this was just a clerical error. It's really, it's fair. It very minor, but very important. Minor word, important detail.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Treasurer?
Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Jones. Yes. Mrs. Mass,
Yes.
Mr. Slocum.
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes. Item 12, the Huron City Schools Operations Handbooks.
Yeah, item A is the food service handbook. B is the transportation handbook, both put together by Mrs. Zilski. I believe this is all of our handbooks and will be ready with approval for the upcoming school year.
Motion?
So move.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Mr. Treasurer?
Mr. Slocum,
Yes.
Mrs. Mass,
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes. Item 13, Huron City Schools bus routes.
Yes. Mrs. Zilski.
Theme of today? Yeah.
In great detail, and we do appreciate her working on these. We appreciate bus drivers, bidding them out, cooperation we had, and of course, the efficiency of our new computer program. So we're ready to go with the bus routes upon your approval.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Chair,
Let me interject here. No,
please.
Mrs. Mass had questions. I don't know. I want to make sure they got answered. I couldn't answer for her last night.
That's fine.
On the bus routes?
I'll make sure that we were good. Okay.
Thank you.
Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mrs. Mass.
Yes.
Mr. Slocum. Yes. Mr. Ward.
Yes. Item 14, Huron Virtual Academy Handbook.
One last handbook. Yeah, this is for the virtual academy. This is the option of the times that we are in, that we offer 9-12 students. They would like to stay in a blended virtual environment. There will be some requirements for seat time, but basically it's a virtual option that we have.
I see.
So
Motion,
moved.
second? My second?
Yeah.
Mr. Treasurer?
Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Jones. Yes. Mrs. Mass.
Yes.
Mr. Slocum. Yes. Mr. Ward.
Yes. Item 15, Board Committee Reports. Anyone on the board serving as liaison or committee representative have a report for us?
I have a report for Rehovie. They have little over 800 students enrolled for the upcoming school year, which is pretty good since last year. No districts could take tours like they usually do to see if the kids are interested in attending Rehovie, but they did a wonderful job of doing some virtual tours that you can see online if you know any students that, might be interested, even just, on the outskirts of maybe doing some vocational education, that you can go on their website and look and hit on any program area and they'll show you, everything you want to know about that program. And then they also have 3 classes of 25 each for sophomores for career exploration, which is a wonderful option if your student or child is not sure if, where they want to go in life, what they might be interested in. They can go to Rehovie their sophomore year and spend about 6 weeks in each program area and kind of get like little tastes, little hors d'oeuvres of all the different things that they have to offer to see if that's of interest to them or, to help them make up their mind on what they want to do. And obviously they're, as far as like any other school district, still hoping that, at this point, they're going back mask free, I should say mask optional, 5 days a week. And as hard as we know it was for our teachers and our staff to do virtual, it's 100 times harder for vocational because you can't teach somebody how to cut hair or, wire a house online. So, we're just keeping our fingers crossed that the COVID situation doesn't revert back to anything like what we saw last year, but that's where they're at.
Thank you, Mrs. Green.
Mhm.
Anyone else?
I would say the policy committee is meeting this Friday. So that's no update. We'll have some new policies or revised policies that coming out of that.
Thank you, Mr. Slocum. Anyone else? Not at this time? Item 16, anyone have new business to bring before the board? Item 17, the next meeting, September 21st at 6 p.m. Are we meeting at the board office?
Board office.
Okay,
We'll get the buildings time to get going, and then we'll probably take our show on the road again.
okay, sounds good. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Mr. Treasurer?
Mr. Jones. Yes. Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Slocum.
Yes.
Mrs. Mass. Mr. Ward.
Yes. Meeting adjourned.
Normally, we got an evaluation again here. I don't know if we want to hold on.
Yeah, I talked to him. And I actually asked him if he gets hired, does he still want it? And he said, no big deal, but yeah. So I'm just I don't know, dragging my feet, but because we're gonna know this. Actually, yeah, we'll know this. I do. I talked to their president. Yeah. And he was very high on it. We talked for 45 minutes. Yeah. Now, I don't know the field, right? But I mean, yeah, by probably 30%. Yeah. Have a great day, guys. Thanks, Mark.
I'm gonna, on the list of things to do with the task force for
Yeah.
OQF,
Here we go.
I'll send you an update of where we're at, what we need to do.
Yeah, the one thing that I want to do right away, Cindy, is she did it for me last year. I think Sharon sent me the labels. I might still, I'm sure I still have those, but we added last year or 2 years ago numbers.
Right.
So I don't have those addresses.
Right.
We're talking about 5 people, whatever it is. So I don't know if Sharon has those or if we somehow have those
We
addresses.
updated the list.
Yeah, which if not,
Yeah.
I could do that homework, I guess.
The biggest thing I see right now is all POs are in place,
Okay,
but to order the plaques, we'll order them from Tom, but we need like, if we're gonna go with that picture, he's gonna need the picture image to you.
yeah,
But
exactly.
even before that, Mike Hinder is gonna be traveling. We need to get him the,
Stuff for the program.
we need their bio.
Angelo wrote the bio,
He
right?
has them all.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, I'll get on it.
That's probably the biggest
Phone
thing,
calls.
so that we.
Let's you and I sit down and go through a to-do list pronto.
Because we're at 6 meetings.
You tell me how soon you can meet for 20 minutes.
I'm ready this week.
Okay,
Look at your
what
calendar.
about
I'm
this
even
afternoon?
working Friday.
What about this afternoon?
Yeah.
How's that look? When do you bowl? 4, 3:30?
No,
Time of year? Do you
I,
pick a time to meet this afternoon
all right.
and just get a hold of me. And it's maybe 15 minutes. That's all I'm talking about. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you for what you do. I know, I said. Yeah, I wonder if one of these guys would write us a letter reminding us. And it's, well, confidentiality and honesty.
And I'm just sitting here thinking it's funny, but I think that last night I slept okay, I slept on the right side. But it's scary.
One of our attorneys wanted white. They did. And they. Every name I don't wear. I don't swear. We struck that one off. Other oh. I think I like it.
Is it already?
Well,
no, it's not.
Oh, time to get back to work.
Hear you.
Good, I just want to have person who's helping.